Hi, I'm Sarah at the Shawano County Library. Today I'm going to be reading The Heist by Janet Evanovich and Lee Goldberg. If you're a fan of Stephanie Plum novels, this is another good series for you to try out. And I'll be reading it off the Libby app that you can download on any device. So we will begin. Kate O'Hare's favorite outfit was her blue windbreaker with the letters FBI written in yellow on the back, worn over a basic black t-shirt and matching black Kevlar vest. The ensemble went well with everything, particularly when paired with jeans and accessorized with a Glock. 33-year-old Special Agent O'Hare didn't like feeling exposed and unarmed, especially on the job. That all but ruled her out for undercover work. Fine by her, she preferred a hard-charging style of law enforcement, which was exactly what she was practicing on this 96-degree winter afternoon in Las Vegas when she marched into St. Cosmas Medical Center in her favorite outfit with a dozen similarly dressed agents behind her. While the other agents fanned out to seal every exit in the building, Kate pushed past the security guards in the lobby and made her way like a guided missile to the first floor office of Rufus Stott, the chief administrator of the hospital. She blew past Stott's stunned assistant without even acknowledging her existence and burst into Stott's office. The startled Stott yelped and nearly toppled over his chrome and mesh ergonomic chair. He was a chubby, bottom-heavy little guy who looked like a turnip that some bored wizard and had tapped with a magic wand and turned into a 55-year-old bureaucrat. He had a spray tan, tortoiseshell glasses, and crotch wrinkles in his tan slacks. He had a hand over his heart, and he was gasping for air. "Don't shoot," he finally managed. "I'm not going to shoot," Kate said. "I don't even have my gun drawn. Do you need water or something? Are you okay?" "No, I'm not okay," Stott said. You just scared the bejesus out of me. Who are you? What do you want?" "I'm Special Agent Kate O'Hare, FBI." She slapped a piece of paper down on his desk. "This is a warrant giving us full access to your concierge wing." "We don't have a concierge wing," Stott said. Kate leaned in close, locked her intense blue eyes on him. 6 obscenely wealthy and desperate patients flew in today from all over the country. They were picked up from McCarran Airport by limos and brought here. Upon arrival at your private concierge wing, they each wired $1 million to St. Cosmas' offshore bank account and immediately jumped to the top of the Oregon waiting list. "You can't be serious," Stott said. "We don't have any offshore bank accounts and we certainly can't afford to rent limos. We're teetering on bankruptcy. That's why you're conducting off-the-books transplant surgeries using legally acquired organs that you bought on the black market. We know those patients were here and being prepped for surgery right now. We will lock this building down and search every single room and broom closet if we have to." "Be my guest," Stott said and handed the warrant back to her. We aren't doing any transplant surgeries, and we don't have a concierge wing. We don't even have a gift shop." Stott no longer looked scared, and he didn't look like he was lying. Not good signs, Kate thought. He should be in a cold sweat by now. He should be phoning his lawyer. 18 hours earlier, Kate had been at her desk in LA tracking scattered intel on known associates of a wanted felon when she'd stumbled on chatter about a certain financially strapped Las Vegas hospital offering organ transplants to the highest bidder. She dug deeper and discovered that the patients were already en route to Vegas for their surgeries, so she dropped everything and organized a rush operation. "Take a look at this," she said, showing Stott a photo of her on her iPhone. It was a medium close-up of a man about her age, wearing a loose-fitting polo shirt, soft and faded from years of use. His brown hair was windblown, his face alight with a boyish grin that brought out the laugh lines at the corners of his brown eyes. "Do you know this man?" she asked. "Sure I do. That's Cliff Clavin, the engineer handling the asbestos removal from our old building." She felt a dull ache in her stomach and wasn't from the Jack-in-the-Box sausage and egg sandwich she had for breakfast. Her gut, flat and toned despite her terrible eating habits, was where her anxiety and her instincts resided and liked to communicate with her in a language of cramps, pains, queasiness, and general malaise. "Cliff Clavin is a character on the television show Cheers," she said. "Yeah, crazy coincidence, right?" What old building? She asked him. He turned to the window and pointed at a 5-story building on the other side of the parking lot. That one. The building was an architectural artifact from the swinging 60s with its lava rock accents, big tinted windows, and a lobby portico topped with white gravel. That was the original hospital, Stott said. We moved out of there a year ago. We built this new one to handle the demands for beds that we wrongly anticipated would come from. Kate wasn't listening. She was already running out the door. The instant she saw the other building, she knew exactly how she and those 6 wealthy patients had been duped. The man in the photo on her iPhone wasn't Cliff Clavin, and he wasn't an engineer. He was Nicholas Fox, the man she'd been pursuing when she stumbled on the organ transplant scheme. Fox was an international conman and thief, known for the sheer audacity of his high-risk swindles and heists, and for the obvious joy he took in pulling them off. No matter how big his scores were, and he'd done some huge ones, he kept going back for more. Kate had made it her mission at the FBI to nail him. She'd been close 2 years ago when she discovered Nick's plot to plunder a venture capitalist's 20th-story Chicago penthouse for all his cash and jewels at the same time that the self-proclaimed king of hostile takeovers was getting married in the living room. It was a ballsy move in pure Nick Fox. To pull it off, he somehow got himself hired as a wedding planner and brought in a motley crew of thieves as the caterers. When Kate crashed the wedding with the strike team, Nick's crew scattered like cockroaches when the lights go on, and Nick parachuted off the top of the building. Choppers were called in, streets were closed, roadblocks were set up, and buildings were searched, but Nick slipped away. When Kate finally strangled into her hotel room at dawn, there was a bottle of champagne and a bouquet of roses waiting for her, all from Nick, and charged in to her room, of course. The whole time she'd been hunting Nick, he'd been relaxing in her room, watching pay-per-view movies, ordering room service, and helping himself tune Toblerones in her minibar. He'd even stolen the towels on his way out. The bastard is having way too much fun for my expense, Kate thought as she bolted through the hospital lobby, out of the door, past 2 surprised agents in charge across the parking lot. When she reached the cyclone fence around the old hospital building, she was sweating and her heart was pounding so hard she could almost hear it. She drew her gun and slowly approached the entrance to the lobby. As she got closer and saw the red carpet and the sign that had been obscured in the shadows of the alcove under the portico. The sign read, "Welcome to St. Cosmos Concierge Medical Center. Please excuse our dust as we remodel to give you more privacy, luxury, and state-of-the-art care." Hugging the lava rock wall, she made her way to the door, yanked it open, and spun into the open space in a firing stance. But there was no one to aim at. Kate faced an elegantly furnished lobby, decked out with contemporary leather furniture, travertine floors, and lush plants. On the wall behind the empty reception desk were photos of the surgical staff. She looked at the photos and immediately recognized 2 of the faces. One of them belonging to Nick Fox, a stethoscope around his neck, exuding doctorly strength and confidence. The other one was her, with a dopey, drunken smile on her face. Her picture had been lifted, cropped, and photoshopped from the bridal party pictures taken years ago that were now on her sister Megan's Facebook page. Dr. William Scholl was written in bronze letters under Nick's photo. Dr. Eunice Huffnagel under hers. Okay, so where was the surgical staff now, she asked herself, and what about the 6 rich patients who would come from far and wide for organ transplants? Kate headed for the double doors that were located to one side of the reception desk. She pushed them open and stepped into the foyer ready to fire, but once again there was no one there. Directly in front of her were 3 more sets of double doors. One was marked Operating Room 1, the second Post-Op Number 1, and the third Pre-Op. An elevator was to her left. A stairwell door was to her right. She eased open the door to the operating room and found a fully decked out surgical suite that took its design cues from the Apple Store. Everything was sleek and white, all the equipment gleaming like new cars on a showroom floor. She closed the door and peeked into the post-op room. There was a standard hospital bed, IV stand, and the usual monitoring devices, but the similarities to any other hospital room ended there. The room was luxuriously appointed with fancy French furniture, ornate shelves filled with leather-bound books, and a flat-screen TV, and a wet bar stocked with assorted spirits. He's smart, she thought. Posing as a asbestos removal company was the perfect cover for Nick's scam. It ensured that everyone at the hospital kept their distance from the old building while Nick and his crew actually creating an elaborate set and staging their con. Finally, she went to the pre-op room. The door opened onto a long ward with an abandoned nurse's station and several curtained-off areas behind it. She stepped inside and cautiously slid open the first curtain. An unconscious middle-aged man in a hospital gown was stretched out on a gurney and hooked up to an IV drip. Kate checked his pulse. It was strong. She made her way through the ward, yanking open curtains as she passed. All 6 of the men who'd come in that day from the airport were there, each of them sound asleep, and she assumed $1 million poorer. The windows in the building vibrated, and she heard the unmistakable thwap, thwap, thwap of a helicopter blades above her. Nick Fox was on the roof, she thought. Again! She ran out of the room and to the stairwell, climbing the 4 flights as fast as she could, which was remarkably speedy for a woman whose most frequent dinner companions were Colonel Sanders, Long John Silver, Ronald McDonald, and the 5 Guys. Kate burst onto the roof ready to fire and saw blue Las Vegas aerial choppers, tour choppers on the helipad. A side door opened, several doctors and nurses inside. Nick Fox was not among them. He stood casually midway between her and the helicopter with his hands in his pockets, the wind created by the chopper blades whipping at his hair and flaring his white lab coat like a superhero cape. Kate had created the man of her dreams when she was 12 and hung on the image. The dream man had soft brown hair, intelligent brown eyes, and a boyish grin. He was 6 feet tall with a slim, agile body. He was smart and sexy and playful. So it was with terrible irony that over the course of the last couple of years, it dawned on Kate that Nick Fox was a living embodiment of her dream man. Dr. Scholl, Kate yelled over the chopper noise. Really? It's a very respected name in medicine, Nick yelled back. Glad to see you're wearing sensible shoes. Nick knew she always wore Dr. Scholl's gels in her black Nikes. It was one of the many things he learned about her over the last couple of years. Most of what he learned intrigued him. Some of it was downright scary. The scary part was offset by a physical attraction to her that he couldn't explain. Her brown hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and her flawless skin had a slight sheen from her dash across the parking lot and up the stairs. Sexy, but he suspected the fantasy the sheen inspired was better than the reality. She was the job. Probably wore Kevlar to bed. End of story. Still, he did enjoy playing with her. He liked her big blue eyes, cute little nose, slim athletic body, and her earnest dedication to making the world a more law-abiding place. It made his dedication to crime much more interesting. You're under arrest, she shouted. How do you figure that? Because I've got my gun on you and I'm a great shot. She took a step toward him. He took a step back. I'm not sure you are, but you're not going to shoot me. Or I'm sure you are, but you're not going to shoot me. Frankly, I'm surprised. I haven't shot you already. She took another step towards him. Still upset about those Toblerones, he took another step back. Take one more step and I'll put you down. You can't. I can shoot the testicles off an eagle from 100 yards. Eagles don't have testicles. I may suck when it comes to metaphors, but my aim is excellent. You can't shoot me because I am unarmed and not presenting any threat of physical harm. I can shoot the helicopter and risk crashing it into the hospital full of children? I don't think so. The hospital isn't full of children. You're missing the point. You still glance down at the parking lot to see scores of FBI agents rushing towards the building, and then look back at her to see she advanced 2 steps closer. It was really good seeing you again, Kate. It's Special Agent O'Hare to you, and you're not going anywhere. He smiled and bolted for the chopper. Damn! She holstered her gun and charged after him. Even after racing up the 4 flights of stairs, she was still faster than he was, and she took a lot of pleasure in that. She was quickly closing the distance between them, and she was pretty certain that she'd get her hands on him before he could climb inside the chopper. Apparently the pilot and Nick's crew shared her optimism, because the chopper suddenly lifted up and was over the edge of the building, leaving their ringleader behind. Nick picked up speed and kept running, as if the rooftop extended another 100 yards instead of just a few more feet. With mounting horror, Kate realized that he intended to do. He was going to jump, and this time he didn't have a parachute. "Don't!" she yelled, launching herself at him, hoping to take him down with a flying tackle before he could make a suicidal mistake. Too late, she missed him by inches and hit the concrete hard just as Nick leapt off the building toward the hovering chopper. Her heart stopped for a couple of beats while he was in midair and resumed beating when he latched onto the helicopter's landing skid. He held on with one hand, blew her a kiss, and the chopper veered off towards Las Vegas Strip. Within seconds of his escape, Kate was on the radio, trying to get a police chopper into the air and patrol cars on the ground to chase Nick's helicopter. Kate knew it was a waste of time and effort, but she went through the motions anyway. There were half a dozen identical Las Vegas aerial tour choppers in the airspace above the strip, and even though only one of them had a man hanging from the landing skid, by the time she got word out, Nick's helicopter had disappeared. It didn't help that in all the excitement, she failed to note the chopper's tail number and had nothing to give to the air traffic controller so they could track its transponder. Not that it would have mattered. The helicopter wasn't actually part of the tour company's fleet. It had just been painted to appear as if it was. Kate sped straight from the hospital back to the room she booked at the Circus, the least expensive hotel on the strip. She approached her door quickly, one hand on her holstered gun. She slipped her key card into the lock and slowly eased open the door, hoping Nick Fox had been arrogant enough to pull the same stunt twice, hoping to catch him in the act. No such luck. The room was empty and smelled like a freshly chlorinated swimming pool. She sat down on the edge of the bed and sighed. Not her best day. And she knew she'd catch a lot of crap for letting Nick get away instead of finding an excuse to shoot him. She certainly had plenty of them, the latest one being a picture of Dr. Eunice Huffnagel that she managed to snatch off the wall before anyone noticed it. Kate stared glumly at her reflection in the mirror and started to take off her Kevlar vest, and that's when she noticed it. She didn't believe it at first and had to look over her shoulder to confirm it, but there it was, a Toblerone bar on her pillow. And that was the first chapter of Evanovich The Heist.